Hello there, my name is Google Professor, and without further ado, let's get straight into the video. The owner of Ripley's Believe It or Not tried to buy a volcano. After returning from a Caribbean vacation, Robert Ripley, the creator of Ripley's Believe It or Not, excitedly announced that he was going to buy Pericuten, a newly formed volcano that had suddenly erupted on farmland in Mexico. No one knows what the famous impresario's true intentions were, but he milked the story for all it was worth, telling the media that he felt it was a sound investment in mineral rights and that he would charge spectators an admission to view it. When the Mexican government got wind of Ripley's intentions, whatever they might have been, it prohibited any transaction of the land between the farmer and the showman. America tried to buy Greenland. Just after the Second World War, as the Cold War began, the United States government took an interest in acquiring Greenland, at that time a colony of Denmark with about 600 residents. The Pentagon felt it offered great strategic value and could be used to station troops and to monitor Soviet ships. An offer was made during a United Nations meeting between the United States Secretary of State and the Danish Foreign Minister. The offer was declined, but in 1951 a NATO treaty was signed that allowed the US to station troops there anyway. If Greenland had become a state, it would have been the largest in the Union. The man who sells land on the moon. Dennis Hope had spent a year in the early 1980s dreaming up ways to build a career in real estate. While looking out his window at the moon one night, he recalled learning that the 1967 United Nations Outer Space Treaty stated that no country could own the moon, but made no mention of individuals. Inspired, he wrote a letter to the United Nations claiming ownership of the moon, but didn't receive an answer. "I sent the United Nations a declaration of ownership detailing my intent to subdivide and sell the moon and have never heard back," said Hope. He went on to sell over 611 million acres of moonland, with customers including 3 former presidents. While he has met resistance from the International Institute of Space Law, he continues to stand by his claim and continues to find willing buyers. The Egyptian billionaire who wants to buy an island for refugees. In 2015, Naguib Sawiris, a wealthy Egyptian businessman, began efforts to purchase an island from either Greece or Italy to provide a safe place for international refugees to live and work. The philanthropist says he has received many donations of money and volunteers to help him realize his goal. So far, his letters to both the Greek and Italian prime ministers have gone unacknowledged, but with the European Union nations having difficulties contending with the massive influx of migrants, Sawiris is holding out hope. "I know that the Greek government owns a lot of islands that are uninhabited and they need the money. It would be doing the European Union a favor, that is giving Greece the money anyhow. It would be saving the European Union from a burden and helping to do something about the refugee crisis," he says. A Scottish actor sold Big Ben. Scottish actor Arthur Ferguson worked up a scam to try out on Americans touring London. Times were tough economically in Britain just after the Second World War, so the thespian posed as an agent for the Prime Minister's office, working to sell off some of London's most famous landmarks to help the country out of its fiscal woes. More than once, he was able to convince some wealthy but gullible travelers that he was legit. $5,000 was his usual take for Big Ben, $30,000 for Nelson's Column in Trafalgar Square, and a down payment of $10,000 for Buckingham Palace. After years of ripping off the unsuspecting foreign groups, the complaints from tourists at the American embassy finally caught up to him, and he moved to the United States and developed similar deceptions using that country's landmarks. He was later arrested and spent 5 years in prison for an attempt to sell the Statue of Liberty. The English lawyer who bought Stonehenge. When Cecil Chubb, a barrister in Salisbury, attended a local auction and purchased the ancient landmark for £6,000 in 1915, it may have saved what is now considered a national treasure from becoming a neglected ruin. Though it's sometimes claimed Chubb bought it as a present for his wife, it's more likely that he wanted to ensure that his fellow countrymen retain ownership of the monument. "I thought a Salisbury man ought to buy it," he said. 3 years later after the purchase, Chubb donated it to Britain with the provision that a fee exceeding 1 shilling should not be charged to visit the ruin and the residents should have free access. The transition was marked with a ceremony, and Chubb later received a knighthood. Nowadays, Stonehenge attracts 1 million of travelers a year and is also protected by UNESCO World Heritage Site. Don't forget to press the subscribe button and rate this video. See you tomorrow, bye!